You go to a ATM, there's no cash, right? There's a slip that comes out ki, sorry,
Out of service.
out of service, right?
Whatever.
Is that automation? Yes.
Okay.
Correct. But is it the right automation?
No.
Automation is not a 0-1 kind of thing. It has degrees, right? If next degree is ki, okay, you are in this particular area, the next nearest ATM which will have money is in this area.
Correct.
1.2 kilometer away from you.
Yeah.
That's the personalization. That is an automation I want to.
That's the relevance that.
Correct. Automation cannot be 0 or 1. Personalization cannot be क्योंकि personalization है या नहीं है.
The various
What
stages.
level you are doing it makes a lot of sense.
User engagement and retention is a crucial but least understood aspect of a growing and successful business. We are here to change that. Hi, this is Ankur. Join me as I dive into conversation with the best and brightest minds in user engagement to help you navigate the why, what, and how of this subject. Hi everyone, this is Ankur, your host for the State of Retention Marketing podcast. And on this episode today, I have Kshitij Mathur. He leads the Group CRM function for the Good Glamm Group. It's a large bunch of brands now and a fairly large revenue scale as well. So Kshitij, thank you so much for doing this with us. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you, Ankur. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Awesome. So just to get us rolling on the whole aspect of user engagement in a personalized fashion, give me one example of one digital engagement that you really enjoyed and you actually thought that this is a great idea. Why aren't we doing this yet?
I loved Country Delight Digital Activation.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are reaching your home in such a personalized manner. They know exactly what I want. They know exactly when I want. And they give me right activation at the right time. That's my favorite digital activation. That's Country Delight.
So that's actually a milk brand. Normally, we would have considered them to be a bit of a boring play, but Kshitij is excited about them. So that's very interesting. And is there a brand that you're really loyal to now, given that the number of choices you have available across most categories is so much more?
The brand that I'm loyal to is Westside.
Okay.
I love their marketing point of view and their positioning.
Okay.
So in today's world, the marketing is very, very, you can say, dependent on time, but they have a focused marketing. Their end of season sale will start from same date across the year, end on the same date. No brand in the world is doing that. I know when I have to shop. They know when I have to shop. And I shop it exactly that time. I love Westside for that.
And is this because of their very predictable, consistent
predictability? Yes. Predictability is something that we are losing in the industry right now. Everyone is doing everything at all the times, right?
Yeah.
So predictability in the operations, in the strategy is what I like about it.
Sure.
Plus the products are awesome.
And well, I mean, you've grown very substantially in the last few years and you're surrounded by a bunch of D2C brands who are operating in small niches in the same beauty category overall.
Yeah.
You've acquired a bunch of them as well.
Yeah.
In your view, how mature are they? Is this something which is like already gotten to a good level, or do you think
it has gotten to a good level, but there's a lot of potential. With the TG that most e-com or most D2C brands work with are the younger TGs. Slightly fickle-minded on what the brand they want, what the brand they don't want, right?
Sure.
So it's dependent on how communications are done, how engaged they are with the brand. So I'm saying they are there, but there's a lot of potential still in the industry to retain the customer.
So you're fairly bullish on the scale of the industry as personal care as a category?
Personal care as a category, makeup as a category. All these categories, custom and our TGs, younger audience, younger female audience.
This is 20 million of them, right? Something like that.
20 million only for my Glam. We have customer base of more than 30 million now.
This is across this multiple brands.
Yes. And that's where the main customer, our TG lies.
Sure.
So we have to be there to engage them. We have to be there to talk to them. We have to be there to make sure that all their needs are completely fulfilled.
You mentioned something about the brand play from Westside, the predictive lead from Westside being an exciting element. And as a data-driven marketer, that's sometimes a little difficult for me to absorb because you mentioned that all of these niches. And if there's one message from the brand perspective, how do you make it resonate with such a large number of audiences which have their own set of preferences?
Correct. See, preferences of customers changes, the need changes. You have to answer that. But how can your marketing or how can you become predictable to some extent, not completely, but how can you be predictable to your customer so that they start waiting for you?
Okay.
So they start waiting for your communication so that your engagement points become their answering points.
Okay.
That's where I want to reach. That's the
That's your
holy
nirvana
grail.
state of.
That's a holy grail that I have to cross. Currently, we are definitely not there, but some
journey.
sort of predictability to the marketing, to the engagement of customer definitely helps in making sure they stay with you for a longer time.
Very interesting. So now, give us a sense of the nature of all the different businesses you're after. How does the audience profile differ? How does their behavior differ? And how are you addressing this at the group level? I mean,
Correct.
are there obvious cross-selling synergies or
cross-selling? Yeah, sure. So we currently work with 6. We have 6 e-com brands. Apart from that, we have media company. Apart from that, we have influencer company as well. But 6 major brands, which are My Glam, Scent Botanica, The Mom's Co, Sirona, Organic Harvest, and Baby Chakra. So we are into female and baby mom kind of businesses. Cross-sell synergy is definitely there because every brand has different specialty, right? Organic Harvest talks about more of Ayurvedic products, more of how can you look good without damaging your skin. STB has different kind of you can say about the personal care and hair care items. Then My Glam is very much focused on the makeup and slightly on the skincare items as well. So yes, there's a definite cross-sell synergy because end of the day, the TG is one, right? There's a particular female who's buying all these products, right? And she needs makeup, she needs hair care, she needs skincare, she needs Ayurvedic, she needs everything.
But a very basic but obvious sounding question maybe, is the data now consolidated or are these still different systems and different?
Yeah, data is absolutely consolidated.
So now you know if it's same Miss Shalini who's buying across these 6 platforms.
Absolutely. And she's not buying this brand. Why is she not buying this brand?
Okay.
We want to answer that.
So from a communication standpoint, now some brand would have recruited that customer and some brand is trying to engage with that same customer. How do you make sure this is unified? And I'm jumping a few steps, but that becomes the obvious first question.
Yeah. Unified. So first thing is we have a loyalty program.
Right.
That is a group level loyalty program.
Okay.
So where we want to engage customers at a group level also, not individual brand level we are doing, but at a group level to consolidate everyone, we have a group level loyalty that talks about your PI information. What is your date of birth? What is your gender? What is your age group? And all these kind of things. So demographic, all the demographics, customer demographics we have at the group level as well. And then we have individual brand building and trying to answer that, okay, she's a probable customer for brand A, brand B might not be for brand C. Because if she's a young woman of 21, I don't expect her to buy from
Mom's company,
Mom's Co or Baby Chakra. So that's how we are building our ecosystem. Identifying right customer for the right brand as well.
Okay, so then as far as cohorts and repeat behaviors are concerned, all of this information does get cross-populated with this person acquired with this brand, but now it's also repeating.
Repeating with this brand.
And is there like an internal mandate? Because I remember from a conversation that I had with Swiggy's Anuj that there's a fairly simple structure. They have different lines of business. So you have
why not? Why not? Let's see why is not a viable thing? Because the customer is part of the G3.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we want. It's just like simple thing like a brand is selling 5 categories.
Sure.
They would want customer to buy from all the 5 categories.
Yes.
So that's the same logic we are using here also. So it's
absolutely.
Cross-sell synergies are absolutely.
So let's get something slightly operational out of the way. So as Kshitij, who's the group head of CRM for the fairly large setup, what's on your dashboard every day? What are the numbers that you care about on an everyday basis?
Everyday number is mostly about the revenues, the number of traffic.
Is this to do with channel or is this to do with the entire
channel level also? And then how much traffic is coming on our platforms daily? Is there any trigger that can bring more customer on a weekend, weekday? What are the different talking points to the customer that can happen? What are different journeys that is running currently? Where are these? Are there a drop in those journeys? These are the daily things that we track.
So I'm sure you have a team which does a lot of this stuff for you, but at your level, the most important stuff that gets surfaced, if this is broken, then I have a problem.
Yeah,
right.
That is daily revenues, daily visits on the platform, and daily orders.
So revenues, orders, visits, anything to do with repeats, retention?
Yeah, that is not a daily thing because it is
weekly.
Yeah, maybe weekly, or weekly is majorly about the channels, how the channels are performing. Fortnightly is where the repeat rate are getting tracked. Okay, this is now where we are and we have a clear action of next 15 days. If my repeat rate is falling down, we look repeat as not as a overall level, it different cohorts level.
Yeah.
Okay, so cohort 1 has a repeat of 20% last month. This month we are at 18. What are the next step to get these extra customers back? And make sure that our numbers are.
So repeat rates are getting better and not worse.
Yeah, so retention is absolutely focused, but not on a daily basis.
you can't do
you
much
can't-
about this.
there's no delta to look at daily basis. Around fortnightly, we see this delta positive or delta negative, and then action plans are made.
So cohort level repeat rates on a fortnightly basis, and whatever interventions get made on that level.
Correct,
Anything
correct.
else that rolls up on a monthly level then?
Monthly level is the first thing, the cross sell thing. How many customers are going from one brand to another? How my cohorts are moving ahead. If I talk about a behavioral segmentation, right? There's a customer who's high loyal, then there's a customer who's potential loyal, then there's who's just starting
And
this
this
journey.
loyalty scoring is on the basis of recency, frequency, a bunch of variables. And
Bunch of variables, not just three, bunch of variables like number, how they are, how much they are responding to our messages, how active they are.
This is an internal score you've derived
The
from
score we have derived.
whatever multiple data sources that come together.
Absolutely. And how these segments are going up. Are these customers becoming more and more engaged? Because the top segments have to have more customers every month. So, and there's been some drops also. So, how is this whole thing going on? That is a monthly thing that we do.
So I'm going to zoom into the whole aspect of segmentation. Given that you have so many different product categories and several businesses now, to look at any kind of customer data, it has geographic variables, it has demographic variables, it has average order value range variables, it has brand preference variables. How do you look at segmentation as a subject? I mean, how many segments you deal with on a daily basis?
See, if I talk about a layman term, right, there can be 20 different variable, 100 different segment. But
Correct.
I have to look from a customer persona point of view, not at a segment level. Right? Persona is the most important part. Can I identify that customer through that variable?
Okay.
Because suppose I'll give you, there's a customer who's Shalini, who is buying, I'll give you an example of my Glam, who's buying only office makeup from me. She's coming every fortnightly, looking at stuff, buying monthly, and her average order price is around 500 or 600.
Okay.
She likes light shades and all those kind of things. So that's a persona. That is now more than a segment. That is a persona, and I can talk to that customer.
So help me understand this, Kshitij. One is, by the way, for those who don't know, Kshitij has spent time at Hansas Equity, so he's a hardcore data professional as well in the back end of it, which is why to map the Shalini who likes light shades of lipstick and is an office makeup person translates into a bunch of variables that come together. Right?
Correct. Absolutely correct.
What are these variables? And these are one of the transactional / engagement variables.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
And they roll up to this answer.
They roll up to these. So now my last point will be, I have 1 lakh Shalinis in my database.
Sure.
How can I talk to these 1 lakh Shalinis? How can you make sure that her needs are fulfilled? If she's going for office, because Shalini is not only going to office, she is going to parties also.
Sure.
But clearly she's not buying that makeup from me. Why is she?
Sure. So I'll get to that part in a bit. So you have 100,000 Shalinis in your system, but you have 20 million overall customers. So if you want to start making segments of 100K each,
Correct.
That's too many segments.
That's just a hypothesis.
So
Hypothetical.
that when you try to break segments, and the path that we tend to try and understand better is you break it on gender, then you break it on demography, maybe you break it on age brackets, maybe your geography. When you are doing this, it ends up just getting too fragmented, and it just gets.
That's what I'm saying. I can't work with 100 segments at a time. I have to make sure that I have 10, max 10, not more than that. But those 10 should be absolutely different from each other.
Right.
And it should be exhaustive data.
That's what I was going to get to, right? When you say it's exhaustive, the moment you, from a persona perspective, ultimately you break your audience down into a 10 persona.
Correct.
How do you
do
that?
Majorly, we do this persona thing for the active customers who are regular on our platform.
So regular would mean frequency less.
Frequency once a month is good enough for us. Twice a month is good enough for us. But fit cutoff can be anything around that. But yeah, active customers were transacted recently.
In the last 3 months.
6 months or 3 months. So those are the customers where we focus more on.
So recency less than 6 months, frequency 1 or twice a month overall. Okay.
Yeah. So we majorly segment those customers.
So within this, we make 10 buckets, which is persona-ish kind of an approach. Where the choice of product category is one variable.
Product category is one variable in our business. Kind of shades is one variable.
Okay.
Then what kind of product she's liking, how frequent she is.
So you say liking, this is transactions, the browsing behavior?
Browsing behavior, and sort of outside how she is responding to our campaigns.
So which campaign did she respond to, or how much?
Which campaign did she respond to? Is she more into discounts or she's more into right product?
So clicks or transactions?
Clicks,
both.
Transaction behavior. Yeah, absolutely.
Both. Okay, so the score is a composition of your purchases, recency, frequency, of course, and then there is the engagement with there are multiple channels, right? So there are offer communications, there are new arrival communications.
Correct.
Which one is she responding to in terms of clicks?
Correct.
And how
she is early adopter of a new product, or she likes her.
So a lot of these are derived attributes in some sense, right? So you use some sort of a behavior. For example, I remember at a fashion company that I used to be involved with, we would look at the age of a certain SKU in our system. If this guy is always buying it at like the liquidation stage, or is it always being bought at
Early stage.
a new arrival kind of play?
Correct.
Right? So
That's what we call our early adopters, who likes to try the products which are recently launched.
Sure.
And we do a pretty good awareness campaign about those products.
So they'll automatically get also the new arrival.
Yeah.
So this is kind of where the behavioral element becomes very interesting, right? So you have a user who's doing a few things on your platform, which is what you're rolling up and defining into a set of persona-based segmentation.
Correct.
And you're able to do this just within a set of 10 segments, because it would get very comprehensive again, right?
It does. But then we have to combine those segments too, because see, working with 100 segments is
It's not practical.
not practical at all. You have to combine, so UV sub order value over 500 and this you combine these 10 variables,
Right.
and then create a persona.
Fair enough.
And then you find out, okay, this is the significant persona to talk about. This is the customer who will give us the maximum benefit. This is the customer whom I want to talk, I can solve our problems.
Sure.
So that's how we reach out with
also the size of each of these groups, so to speak, or segments, so to speak, has to be meaningful for you to take action.
Correct. Absolutely. It can't be so less that it doesn't have any impact on the business.
Absolutely. So that's where, just to look at the top few segments, and you describe the behavioral aspect of it as a key determinant of how somebody would bring a cohort. So on a reasonably frequent basis, you talk to these 10 segments in 10 different languages.
Yeah.
And is there an expectation of people moving from one segment to the other, or do they continue their behavior?
Correct.
One
thing is very, very important in our business is that you segment customer, right? You know that you segment customer. This customer A is in particular segment B.
Sure.
Does customer A knows about it? You are talking, the way you have segmented are well, and are you talking the right language that she wants to hear? Because what happens?
Right language, I'm assuming
any communication channel, whatever it is, the main thing is that customer doesn't know. Customer has to know through personalization कि अच्छा है इनको पता है मेरे बारे में. They know about me. The brand knows about me. Brand knows what I want from them. Brand knows what more I can purchase from them. Right? And they're giving me right suggestions also.
Sure.
So what the problem I've seen in the industry that everybody does segmentation. But even the end customer doesn't even know that segmentation happened. They're thinking this campaign has come for 10 lakh customers, 20 lakh customers. The main thing is customer should know through your communication that you have done your segmentation, or you know exactly about.
So that's why I end up being in a dilemma with the very fragmented approach to segmentation versus a personalization approach.
Correct.
Because
ideal size of segment is one.
Exactly. And that's where
you can't do more personalization.
That's a segmentation approach, right? Fun fact, this comes up in all my conversations because I'm fond of that subject. I've been with Food Panda's global CRM.
Yeah.
So food is a hyper-local business, which means if I like Chinese cuisine below 300 rupees based out of Goregaon in Mumbai, you can't send me a message about a restaurant in Saket, which is a premium find.
Correct. Absolutely.
So that's as valuable as it can get. So if you were to think in that dimension about personalization of content, this can't be done by segmentation. I can't build every city, every locality the same. Personalize the content.
Correct. So the main logic behind the personalization, you do this segmentation. Okay, that is one level of personalization. Then in this segment, not through the data or anything, then you personalize something which is relevant to customer. I give examples. Suppose you live in Mumbai, right? If my communication comes to you that today is going to rain in Mumbai, if you're going out, please plan this. That's a personalized one. I give you an example. People talk about automation all the time, right? You go to a ATM, there's no cash, right? There's a slip that comes out, sorry, out of service, right? Is that automation? Yes.
Okay.
Correct. But is it the right automation? No. Automation is not a 0-1 kind of thing. It has degrees, right? If next degree is okay, you are in this particular area, the next nearest ATM which will have money is in this area.
Correct.
1.2 kilometer away from you. Yeah. That's the personalization. That is an automation I want to.
That's the relevance that.
Correct. Automation cannot be 0 or 1. Personalization cannot be because personalization है या नहीं है.
There are various
what level you are doing it makes a lot of sense.
So, before I jump to personalization, which also has its own sort of just to stay on the whole segmentation bit itself, right? In terms of the touch points to a segment that, people need to be treated differently across frequency of communication, across channels of communication. Is that also a factor that you utilize across these 10 segments?
It is. Channels play a very, very important role. right? My app users who are very relevant on who reads my app notifications religiously are a very important customer for me because
But is that a variable in the top 10 segments? An app user versus non-app user?
absolutely, it is not defining the personas. But when you talk to the customer,
It appears afterwards.
it appears
right?
after.
In terms of the whole stack of how you think about your customer breakdown.
Correct.
You have those 10 personas,
Correct.
and then you have app user, non-app user.
Non-app users, respondent on WhatsApp, respondent on app.
So channel preferences and other.
Channel preference will not be part of the big
pecking
persona,
order.
but it will be main when we talk to customer person.
So if you were to put a pecking order around how do you look at segmentation variables, right? So you have those 10 personas created using recency, frequency, channel responsiveness and engagement. And then you have the app versus non-app, web only, mobile app and web. And that's the layer.
Correct.
Where is the customer show?
Then the last level would be when does the customer want to receive the communication? Is she a weekend browser or is she a weekday browser? Or is she looks at the communication late in the night, or she's the morning person, she looks at communication in the morning?
This would be now.
This is the last level of personalization that I want.
So the dispatch time is kind of now automated across most platforms, and
It is, but I'm not sure it is absolutely smart way done.
Smart way, okay.
It is not there. It is not there. It is not there.
So is this because of lack of data or the
lack of data? Lack of data is one thing. Secondly, reading the actual customer preferences through data will also have its challenges, right? You can't reach 100%. You can't.
Yes, and they've shown some behavior twice. You can't make it like a pattern.
Correct.
You have to have enough data to make it.
Correct.
You coming from
So the efficiency can't be more than 70 or 75% for that. But even if you reach 75 to 80% of that,
that's quite sufficient.
That's quite sufficient.
Pretty decent.
Pretty.
Okay, awesome. So this gives me a fair sense of how the segmentation is being applied, and this is somewhat of a mature play, I would imagine. How has this evolved over the last few years?
It is evolving because we started with RFM, which is most basic one, or even before that we started with cohorts based on how long she has not visited or how long she has made a transaction, not visited app, all those things. So started with basic, then RFM, and then behavior. That
behavior is the click stream in some sense.
This is click stream right now, but obviously the next one would be the modeling and regression modeling, and
that's understanding.
That's the advanced.
So the whole topic around segmentation itself, if you were to look at your maturity curve, we started off with very basic stuff, then RFM came into the picture. The reason I'm asking this question at this level of granularity is for a typical D2C brand or an e-commerce player, they tend to get overwhelmed with the complexity. Correct. And what I typically tend to recommend is, it's a journey. It's not
that problem is faced by
to crawl and walk and then you can run. So
you can't go to step 3 before going to step 1.
Absolutely. So crawl, walk and run is how I typically put it.
Correct.
So you're saying that level 1, sort out your RFM and utilize that as a method of doing action.
Correct.
And then you go forward.
Then move into segment, then move into persona, then move into regression model.
Persona and everything needs people to have those digital, I would say, data scientists on the team, right? Because you have to build a model around assembling the variables which are defining a persona.
Correct.
It's not so straightforward.
It's a very important thing to do also.
While of course it is, I'm just saying that unless you have a security kind of background like yourself or a data science team in-house, I don't know if a smaller D2C brand can afford to actually build those things yet. I mean, they could do a subjective job at this.
Yeah.
But a pure data-driven job in persona building is hard.
Persona or regression, you can't get it right 100% the first attempt. That is not possible.
So besides, to start with, you have to deploy the right kind of resources to make it happen.
Correct. You need the right kind of infrastructure as well.
Absolutely.
To create those kind of variables to...
because to begin with, all the data points you're talking about are not even getting captured at the right level for a large number of companies in the early days.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We, as a D2C, it is there. But there's a lot of potential to make sure that customer retain.
Oh, absolutely. So, what I was trying to understand was from a customer's or rather a B2C brand's journey perspective, you've had a fairly tech first play from a very early days, and Deep was key driver. And I remember the data stack was a very, very early part of the conversation as well.
Correct.
That's not the reality of a lot of Shopify or other D2C brands who start off as, having a third party set up a Shopify store for them. It's a business team that's running the store essentially. So they don't capture all of these data points, they don't process all of these data points effectively, and they don't translate this into actionables very quickly either. But what I hear you say is, in the starting point, just get your RFM, basic
segmentation in RFM, and then move forward.
Okay, awesome. So now, if you were to move from the segmentation side to the engagement side of things, right? That's where the channels come into the play.
Correct.
How many channels are you using right
now? Currently, we are using 4.
Okay.
WhatsApp, notification, email, SMS.
the push notification on the app.
Push notification on the app. Yeah.
You don't use the browser push. You don't use in-app overlays. A conscious choice.
It's absolutely conscious.
Yeah.
I think these IVR per se, that was also a channel, but I think web push and IVR are sort of getting obsolete nowadays. Because myself, when you open a browser, it shows a notification, allow or deny, and in my life, I've clicked like more than 100 denies and 0 allow.
Because, I mean, kind of because how people do a poor job at asking for permission. This is a completely contextualized way of asking for permission. It's a free channel.
Correct. So web push is not a very important channel for us right now.
Have you tried it, failed with it?
Yeah, we tried, failed.
Okay, awesome. This is interesting because what we've seen is that a variety of use cases where we've seen a lot of volume from web push, and because it's a free channel, people sometimes tend to abuse it as well. And then it starts to become that, that hen that lays golden eggs that you just kill.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
Do it well.
Tried it. But see, the TG that I work with, right? It's more of a younger one. They are very, very tech savvy. They know all these things. They never allow it.
But if somebody who's very somebody who wants to know the first time something is on sale and they don't have an application, I mean, they'll benefit from a web push like that.
Could be.
Plus, it's cheaper than WhatsApp, right? Way cheaper.
It is way cheaper. But for us, it's a sort of an obsolete.
As of now, not a priority.
Channel,
right?
Yeah. We are focused on these
very heavy users of web push. I mean, because we track our channel usage and mobile app push, obviously being free, and app push are the web push.
Our focus is to get more and more customers on our app.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
So now, as far as channels are concerned, you also aren't really using any overlays whatsoever on the app or the web. Unique session? Not here.
No.
Okay. Fair. So the sports channels end up being well utilized, heavily utilized.
Yeah. So the two of favorite channels are WhatsApp and notification.
Okay.
Because we are largely a content-driven commerce kind of firm, and we have a lot of content also across our products.
Sure.
So that's where notification and WhatsApp give me liberty to use those.
It's rich media in some
very
most cases.
Yeah. Rich media is somewhere you can create impact. Right? If you use the right triggers, you can create a bigger impact.
I was going to get to that, right? So a lot of it triggers is technically a bit of automation, but since you mentioned this already, what percentage of your communication is actually automated? And triggered in some sense?
Around 40.
So 40% is automated on an everyday basis. A whole bunch of stuff would go out even if your team decides to not do anything.
Yeah.
So and how has that
evolved? Customer intent based.
Absolutely. How has that evolved? Was this a conscious priority that
it is a priority? Yeah. Because when a customer shows intent, you need to make sure that intent remains right, and you get a transaction from the customer.
Sure.
That's where these automated larger degree of personalization things come in picture. And around 40% of our communications are.
And how has that evolved? Was it like
it is always evolving with the analytics that comes up. It is always evolving. You get new triggers about the customer. You know more about them. Like when you see a customer search in your, just give you an example. If customer search in your search bar, the chances of conversion is twice as compared to a normal one.
Sure.
Right. So when you identify that, okay, this is happening. Now when a customer is searching, what extra can I talk to?
Sure.
Because their intent is even more. They are coming on a platform with a proper mindset or a proper what you can say about that.
Intent to buy.
That's the most they have the intent to buy, more intent to buy. So how can you be more personalized to that customer as compared to a random or a normal customer who just come for sort of window shopping, also opening the app for no particular reason. So that's how the journeys keep adding.
So you wouldn't obviously have started at 40%. At some point, it became like, okay, the 5 use cases, and then this, we typically see the abandoned cart, abandoned search, wish list, any kind of, and there's a business events around price drops or discounts or low stock or new arrivals. All of those become triggered communication.
Correct.
And the way we've seen it is people who turn on all of these communications get a fairly good amount of conversion. So from this, because compared to a mass blast, like you said, which has no specific reason to be sent out, these things to do,
they have a reason.
Much better.
They have a reason. Yeah.
So that's on one side. So your 40% has gotten to this point now, and is there a stated goal to, let's say, make it 60% by end of the year or something of that nature?
No. So these are use case based only. But we can create a use case for ourselves.
Sure.
It has to be shown to us by the customer.
Yeah.
Right. If customer is showing us a pattern, then we create an automated journey out of that. It is not that we have to work on the
volume perspective. It will always be small because
it will be smaller.
The more sharper these things.
Exactly. So there is no target on we need to reach 60 or we need to reach 70. It is whatever customer shows, whatever pattern you will
maximize this.
We want to maximize it, but there is no
if you were to send a certain number of communications out per day, would you have a system by which the automated thing gets a preference over the mass thing, or the customer might get two of them?
No. We have for some intent, we have this preferred thing, not for all. But yeah, for some, we have this prioritization.
So, I mean, if there is an intent / triggered message that's due for this user,
that is the highest priority.
That would be the highest priority. And, from a majority perspective, it sounds kind of obvious that younger companies should make sure that all of the automated stuff is up and running, even though their manual stuff might not be. Is that something that you think is a...
Yes. You need to make sure that if a customer comes on your app, they are treated nicely. These communications, these channels through WhatsApp or SMS or email also, they make sure that customer is attached to the brand. They are, if they didn't even
closing loop in some sense, right?
Closing loop in some sense, absolutely. Ad hoc can wait also. You have a limitation on how many ad hoc campaigns you can send. Right? It's not like that, but we have keep it. But for intent-based journeys, closing the loop is the highest priority.
So automated triggers are 40% of the communication, which is where automation becomes a meaningful part of it. But the other side, when you spoke about segmentation and personalization, which is, again, do you track what percentage of your communication is now personalized at some level or the other?
See, that's what I'm saying. Personalization is a very, very relative kind of thing,
sure.
Right?
At some level.
At some level, yeah.
New levels, whatever.
So even if your name appears on the message, it's a personalized message.
Yeah, but that's
correct. That's a basic level of personalization. Then if I'm using your city of residence, that's a next level of personalization. If I'm tracking your derived variables, we're talking about the derived variables. If I'm using that derived variables in my communication, that's the next level of personalization.
So, when you look at city, for instance, India has a fairly diverse bunch of weather situations, right? And even season and climate situations. So, if it's really cold in Delhi, it's not the same in Bombay. It's probably very different.
Correct. Even if you go region-wise, not go at city level.
Oh, absolutely.
Go at region-wise, north, south.
When you look at utilizing the information of the city, you have insane amount of transaction data from a whole lot of cities, right?
Correct.
Is that geographic angle to what's working in, let's say, Chandigarh versus what's working in Chennai, become a part of your communication play?
Not exactly, but we track if something is working in Chandigarh because of some external things which are not applicable in Mumbai. Right? Suppose we have a winter base, we have a winter products range, right? Winter products range might not work in Mumbai or will definitely not work in Chennai, but will work in Delhi and North region. As compared to
my counterpart would be very simple. Top selling products in the preferred category of the customer in the city.
See, these things are also basically derived by data only.
Absolutely.
We don't have a pre-assumption that this is happening here.
No, so I'm saying top selling products in Delhi is like a top selling products I would dig from data. The city filter is already applied.
Correct.
I send it to customers in Delhi and I do whatever filters in terms of category and price points. And this is an email or a communication that goes out to that customer.
Correct.
And at least from what we've seen elsewhere, the click-through rates of this communication also
will be better than
4x compared to the mass blast.
Yeah.
Because and that's what I was coming to, that the remaining communication.
No, that is very simple personalization. City is very simple personalization.
It's not hard, but it's not that obvious. Most people
correct. It's not that obvious. Yeah. Even the designs or the creative of a winter thing, which will be like that. And
I found it fairly simple to just utilize the product catalog as a part of our product email design. It doesn't matter what else there is. As long as you have 12 or 16 products read out nicely.
Correct.
And they'll get picked up by the algorithm instead of being hard-coded in some sense.
Yeah.
So, in terms of the remaining communication, like you were saying that first love is the most obvious, but beyond that, you said cities as well. So is this again a meaningful, let's say, part of the agenda to make sure that all the communication, a big part of the communication gets personalized, because it's ultimately helping your click-through rates?
Correct. Yeah. So that is the most important part, because see, just I'll give you an example. Suppose you have purchased a product, right? And I send a communication to you that Ankur, you have purchased product A. This is our top selling product. Our designers have put together product B, C, and D for you to complete your look. That is the top level personalization that is happening currently.
Correct, right? And this is because this is data driven.
This is absolutely driven. Yeah, because I know after buying product A,
most people tend to buy product
B, C, and D, right? And it is shown on websites also, apps also. But when it comes to as a communication, that has much more impact than as compared.
So it's all consistent. You make sure you see.
Yeah. We use bots for this kind of communication. We use our WhatsApp notifications also for some level, but we have this kind of communication. This is
clear recommendation play with a smart algorithm.
Correct.
So it automatically have better click-through rates and conversion rates as well.
Correct.
So I see meaningful, let's say, progress.
That is the upsell kind of thing that we want to do.
You want to improve average order values, get more category buys.
Yeah.
So fairly interesting. So you have somewhat of a robust play on the automation side of things. Channel usage is, I saw some finite focus, which is a choice made essentially. And then you have a lot of emphasis on personalization across various elements of it as well. So, if you were to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 is your nirvana stage where you think the perfect state would be, where do you see yourself on the scale of personalization right now?
We would say between 6 or 7.
That what are the next 3 priorities for this year, 2023?
Yeah, but priority would be to reach the level 8 or 9, which would be you come to my website. I understand ki what is your intent to buy, even if you're not searched it.
Sure.
My communication should go that I think you are looking for a maker for the next party that you are going this Friday.
You want to
These
predict
are
that, right? That you go
Yes.
to Synergies every Friday, you're here on a Wednesday, which means probably you're here to buy something for the party.
Correct. And but the products that you're looking at.
Sure.
Right. And then we talk about, okay, these are the products that we think will look great in the next party.
Something you see happening in 2023 for you?
I hope so.
Yeah, well, so I would love to understand, what is it that's holding you back from this? Which are the pieces of the puzzle which are not solved for?
Yeah. But this is where I want to reach.
Are there specific, let's say, initiatives within the data team which are solving for this now, or what are the challenge? What's holding you back?
See, you have to crack these kind of algorithms.
It's an algorithm question.
Yeah,
in some
it's
sense.
not happening in day 1 or day 2. This will take a lot of brainstorming how to do it, because if you're doing these things, you have to do it right. There's no point.
I would imagine this will be a journey in some sense, because it's a series of variables that come together, right?
Correct. So you can't be 100% right on this, but if you are reaching 80%, then we are good to go. So that's we are designing the algorithm.
You go back to some sense the persona side of things, on the user on the product side as well. I don't know if you have the occasions mapped to each product category in some sense, because
that is also a big challenge to do. But yeah, that is also one of the
massive catalog like yours.
massive
You want to know now what are the Friday party products. If there are products classified as Friday party, and that's why product tagging can be actually very meaningful. So, one of the things we try to do was in terms of trying to understand consumer behavior in a fashion play, we classify brands as mass, value, and premium. And we figured that most people tend to stay within their price range. So on a shirt, a premium shirt is a very different price compared to a premium shoe.
Yeah.
So you can't apply the same
logic to
tops.
Yes.
But if we still classify the the spectrum of pricing within shirts and pricing within shoes.
Every category will have different price point for the same customer.
So I'm saying that a guy who prefers a mass branded shirt also likely prefers mass branded everything else, because that's the kind of comfort zone he operates in.
Yeah.
And that automatically applies as a filter to his recommendations in that sense.
Correct. But not compulsory,
sometimes you will have
I want a premium shirt, but I'm okay with a average jeans or average shoe.
True, that could be interesting. But so the way we see it is, level 1 personalization, level 2 personalization, there are always going to be exceptions. Not everybody would convert any which way. But those layers end up helping you classify the products in a certain fashion. And those product buckets now become slightly better recommendations, because just like you made personas out of users, you might also make buckets out of products which then behave in somewhat of a predictable fashion.
Correct.
And now you're able to map the persona with the product grouping.
Then it
gives you much better click-through rates, conversion rates.
Correct. Just the only thing, click-through rates are the byproduct of how good your communication to the customer.
Absolutely.
We always aim to make sure the customer understand what we're trying to say. Click-through rate is a byproduct.
Very fundamentally, what Google and Facebook have done essentially is utilize all the data they have about you to make the most appropriate messaging, and that's why you kind of have those click-through rates, right?
Correct.
I very clearly aligned that the way to go forward will end up being data-driven. So while everybody might talk about the whole brand purpose and philosophy and those elements, if you're not going to be data-driven and address the niches the way they want to be addressed or they expect to be addressed, it's not going to be a sustainable path forward.
Absolutely about it. You have to be as personalized as possible. Customer should not feel कि okay, this campaign has come to a crore people, or 10 lakh people, or a lakh people for that matter. They feel like this is coming from me. That's the end goal.
Absolutely. So now tell me something. Now, given that you evolved all of those ways and you would have done a whole bunch of experiments through this journey as well, are there any clear things that, okay, these are the 5 things that have worked for us and these are the 5 things that have not worked for us? You mentioned something about the channel, which is what the web push didn't work for you. But what are the other things that have worked very clearly, which seem to be general guideline?
WhatsApp bot engagement has worked for us.
Yeah.
That has worked for us big time. We are able to scale. We are able to engage with more customers.
This is bot engagement from a conversion outcome or engagement outcome?
Yeah, engagement outcome. Okay. Right. Conversion is we just want customer to engage, to try it out.
Yeah.
Revenue is a byproduct for this, but engagement is the primary.
KPI chasing is more conversations.
Correct.
Number of conversations and length of conversations.
Length of communications. Right? If they send 3 messages to our bot, we are good to go.
And are you yet able to see the level of engagement on a bot?
No, not at all. We've started recently.
Yeah.
So, but the starting results are quite encouraging.
Because what I would love to be able to patch back to the main data is my repeat rate of engaged customers better or not. Quite sure that be the case, right?
Correct. That is absolutely the aim. But currently we started it not a long back, but yeah, the initial results are quite encouraging. So that is clearly working for us. Not working for us, I already told.
Push is one.
IVR is not working for us.
IVR is
with that Truecaller and everything coming in, you see a red Truecaller.
Nobody picks up the call anymore.
Yeah.
So anything else that you think is a general learning on the pluses/minus side?
More or less this only. Actually, what will work and what won't work won't be a
universal answer.
It is very, very dependent on the TG, dependent on the
brand. Yours is a competitive TG in some sense, right? I mean, a lot of people are vying for that attention for the same user, for the same kind of part category.
We face a lot of competition in the market. That's not the way we are.
That's right.
Leading it, but yeah, it's there. But yeah, we face a lot of competition.
But your playbook to kind of deal with that, in some sense, seems to be a data-driven, personalized approach where people get their personalized attention in some sense.
Correct.
And they resonate with your messaging a lot more than they might resonate with a slightly more generic message sent by somebody else.
That is the assumption we want to work on.
I mean, that's where you would want to.
That's the hypothesis that I would want to believe.
Yeah, well, we'll try and make sure from our perspective that we help you get there. But so there's a lot of talk around AI, around subjects, let's say prediction, propensity, modeling, and all of that.
Yeah.
Is this something meaningfully in play for you yet? You did mention a little bit here and there about.
It's not actually.
Yeah.
It's not. It's the kind of pricing that we do might have some bit of AI, but not from the communication point of view.
Okay.
Right. Till now we are at persona level. We want to reach that where the system can tell us, okay, this is a customer you should go behind with this kind of product with an AI starts enabled, but currently we are not there.
And at this point, even from a propensity modeling and all of that, you did have some scores getting aligned.
Correct. That is a kind of so it's one target variable kind of optimization we are trying to do, but the AI level is away from the whole.
Still early days. And that has to do with the talent supply in the ecosystem to do this for you.
Not only talent. It's about the infra. It's about the how can
manage this kind of thing. Yes. A lot of those elements.
Yes.
Fine. There's enough to do before you get to that in some.
Correct. There's a long way to go before we reach that stage.
Kshitij, we've had this conversation before we started the formal recording, but the talent supply in the ecosystem is still in early days. In my simple hypothesis, Google and Facebook have taken 15, 20 years to get where they are, where there is enough people to understand how to optimize. But it's still super early days when it comes to user engagement and retention. These playbooks are still being built. In that sense, is there like a complete happy state with respect to the people and who are running this show for you internally? Do you feel there is room to upskill? Are you expanding the team meaningfully, and is that an easy one?
Yeah, room for upskill will always be there. That if it is not there, then it's a problem, I would say that. But yeah. Very happy with the bunch we have.
Yeah.
The main thing required for this thing is to understand the customer down, what they want, right? Because it's not what you want to send, it's what they want to receive. So that's understanding looks very simple, looks very common, but it is not.
It's not,
right? The platform, the channel, the persona, that can be done, but the end targeting is most important part, and that is the main skill that I look.
So that's what I'm trying to understand, that a lot of brand owners typically tend to struggle with building the right kind of teams to run this whole thing for them. And that's where the supply of talent and, one of our big efforts is just to actually drive education in that sense. And this conversation is a part of the same effort, right? How do you navigate the journey from low maturity to high maturity, or personalization, on automation, on triggers and all of that. So that's the part where I'm trying to understand if talent supply is not a problem for you. If you're expanding the team, then you're able to get enough people of the right skill who know what they need to do.
No, that is not the problem. See, one important aspect of retention that we are not talking about is the kind of content and copy that goes out.
Sure.
Right. So understanding what is the right content and right copy is a very important skill that has to have in a person who's looking for making a career in retention.
Sure.
right? So that is a very
deep data guy and talk about creative. That's like left brain and right brain completely.
it has to
destroyed.
it
Do you
has
think
to
that gets combined?
if you can't combine a right brain and left brain, then there's some issue, because copy has to resonate with what you are trying to do.
Sure.
If you are trying to do a objective, your objective is A, and copy does not resonate with your objective clearly for the customer to understand what you're trying to say, then there's a problem. Even the
How do you mix a copywriter with the personalization skills? Because to me, the smartest copywriter would be the one who's actually most effectively utilizing all the personalization variables available.
correct. See, utilizing personalized variable is the retention team job. How to put the variables together in a copy is a copywriter's job.
Okay.
Right. So that's how we look at it.
Your teams kind of collaborate. That there'll be the
There has to be a collaboration, but there has to be a collaboration, but making sure that if we want to do objective A, it is clearly communicated as one of the main skills that is required in this job.
Okay. So when you say that the skills of the team, essentially, we heard of the data side of things and handling the platform and utilizing that is kind of obvious. But the hard part here ends up being what? The copy?
Copy and creative both.
Which is generally a rare skill.
Correct. I mean, not a copywriter per se. I don't expect the team to write the copies, but understanding, okay, this copy is serving the purpose of what you are trying to do, or what you are trying to communicate. This copy is serving the purpose. Your customer is not seeing through. Customer is not talking to you. Customer is seeing the message or the communication or the creative that is coming on in his phone. So, is the objective met through this copy? Knowing that is important thing.
Subject to a lot of testing and outcomes, or is this something of subjectivity and quality?
See, always you can't test. You have to see it before even it goes out.
Yeah, but when you're doing something at that level of scale,
it is a relative thing. Yeah, it is a relative thing. I can say that creativity is always relative. But still,
no, but
the person who's designing all this now, who's doing all this hard work and designing the strategy, if he's convinced with the copy, then I trust you. Okay. If he's convinced, then this is right.
So at some level this is subjective, but you leave that decision to a certain level.
Correct.
But the reason you mentioned about 40% of the communication is automated, which means there is some volume of this getting dispatched every day to some bunch of customers. And for those campaigns, you have the conversion metrics tracked, and tomorrow if you were to adapt the copy, to tweak the copy, to make test variations, you can keep doing that on an ongoing basis.
Correct. Absolutely.
Because compared to a one-off blast campaign, which goes through a bunch of people, it's kind of the same copy and the same message going to a large chunk of people, where you might do an A/B test or maybe not, but there's a degree of judgment and faith involved that this is how I communicate.
Yeah. So the person who's designing the strategy is the best judge to see, okay, this is right or not.
And that's an evolving thing. There's no perfect answers theoretically, right? So, from a Day0 framework, if you were to now put it yourself in the shoes of a new brand, which has probably hit a revenue scale of 20 lakhs a month ballpark. It's in early days for their retention stack to come into play. What would be the framework that, these are the first 5 things you should make sure you do on Day0?
Okay. So majorly starting with the automated communication. If customer is coming on your website or any platform that you are providing to him, how are you maintaining that relationship? Maintaining the funnel initially, right? How the funnel is, how you acquire a customer, then how he's into your funnel, how he's navigating, how he's making a decision, how he's adding to cart, and how he's checking out.
That's the website transaction funnel at one level.
Correct. And overall journey of a customer at same level only, because initially the customer is acquired, then they have I'm in the awareness phase. So I know about the brand.
Yeah.
Then I'm in consideration phase.
Sure.
Then I'm in the purchase phase. Then I'm in the loyal phase.
Whole communication piece ends up being structured around this.
Correct. This is the customer journey that we have. That has to be tracked. Awareness, consideration, purchase, and repeat.
But you talk about somebody who's already on the platform, or is this before somebody clicks and comes to your website or mobile app?
This thing has to be ready before a customer clicks on the app. You have to show, okay, if customer is acquired, then he is more or less aware. Now you would say consideration.
Made a transaction.
Acquired means he's registered with the company.
Okay. So
transaction is when the customer is mine.
Correct.
For that, you've just acquired the customer. Correct. They know about it. They have the awareness. Then the next step is consideration. How to make sure
content point of view, said trust building.
Trust building, sort of understand what you are trying to sell. What are your products talking about? Is it relatable or is it required by the end customer or not? Then you in consideration phase. Then after consideration, then you move to purchase.
Okay.
If you customer considering your products but not purchasing because of price option or less trust in you, how to make sure that you overcome that obstacle and make sure the customer purchases.
I'm assuming these are data-driven insights that you'll deliver.
Sorts of data-driven, yeah. That more or less is research. You can't go and ask everyone, but you have to take a group and do this research. Why are customer looking at the products but not purchasing it in the end?
So you're saying that in the early stage, the founder is actually better off having a bunch of these customer conversations directly to understand drop-off points at different levels?
Drop-off points at different level. Yeah, you have to make sure, because see, awareness to consideration is the easier step, but consideration to purchase is the difficult step.
Sure.
Right? After you make a purchase, then you can't let go the customer. The next step is repeat, and then next step is loyalty. So that's how the journey that we look at.
So, if I were to be a CXO of a company, which is, let's say, beauty category itself, there's a specific niche, maybe Ayurvedic face packs, which are fresh, made, 3-day shelf life delivered, like a D2C country-led delivers, right? So, you now have those pens and kind of stuff available on a short shelf life. Now, in order for this guy to build his retention play, obviously there's a certain amount of spend he's doing, he's generating a lot of traffic, he has people coming to the website, some of them add cards to the cart, some of them don't check out, some of them complete those transactions, and then they not repeat maybe. So at this point, from a retention stack perspective and team setup / technology setup / data setup perspective, what are the top 3 things to keep in mind, and where do you see people making mistakes?
People making mistakes is basically getting customer from consideration to purchase and not understanding why they are not moving one letter up, right? Because consideration you can get through your Facebook ads, Google ads, and acquire the customer. And when they're coming to your app or website, whatever platform you are offering, then they're considering, they're aware about your product. So this is a brand, that is the market. And then they come to your app and platform, they see the products. Consideration can also be reached. But moving from consider purchase, where we see the maximum fallout, and our marketers or CXO doesn't understand why is it happening.
Sure.
Is it the pricing problem? Is it the less trust? There can be n number of reasons.
Yeah.
And this is where the biggest drop-off rate is.
And that you're saying is in early days, the best thing is to do is to pick up the phone and speak to the guys.
Correct. Because one problem will directly solve, I think, 1,000 more customers.
So that's from the insight that you derive from a customer standpoint. But in terms of the data setup and collecting the right kind of data, getting the data together and stitching it together. So behavioral data, for example, most people don't necessarily capture in early days, right? But from what you suggested, the whole automation has to happen on day 0.
Correct. Basic automation where if a customer is landing on the website, then you have to make sure that they end up purchasing.
Maximize conversion.
Maximize
conversion. About cart recovery, this could be about search.
Correct.
So capturing that behavioral data around carts and searches and
that at a customer level, what are they actually looking at?
Browsing behavior
could be.
So have you seen this campaign where somebody spent 5 minutes on a certain product page and they did not transact, and you sent a communication and they came back and
we do it, yeah.
You do it. And that's a piece of automation that can help. And in the early days,
I see there might be a lot of challenges around.
Sure.
This. You don't have an answer. Okay, if customers saw 5 pages, 5 products, which product to go after, or should I go with the category? A lot of A/B testing that has to be done. You can't reach the answer, get the answer on day 1. That is not possible.
Yeah, but from a simple contribution to business and ROAS perspective, that will bring me to a very important question. How do you link up the bottom-up play around user engagement and then look at the top-down metric around retention and then ROAS? Because ultimately it's supposed to have business impact.
Correct.
And as a line item,
see, we look at top-down only.
That's what. How do you influence those metrics at that level? Because we look at channel level metrics. Ultimately, for an email, you send out an X number of emails. It'll have an open rate, click rate to the website, and then conversion rate, and then checkout. So that's a fairly sharp funnel. So how do I make a meaningful move on the needle using all of this? It's something I'm very curious about.
You have to identify where the drop rate is, where the problem lies. Right? Can I solve that thing first?
It's several of them, right?
Several of them, yeah, but
biggest ones are few.
Correct. If you want to, because see, all the metrics that you are saying are related. If I'm increasing my conversion, my CTR will be better, or CTR will be better, then conversion will be better, then it goes up and then impact the top number. So it has to be top.
Let's say that you're looking at the second order rate. Okay, now you have X number of customers being acquired, And for the majority of brands, the first transaction to the second transaction is a massive drop-off.
Drop-off,
Right? That's the reality of
That's a
both sides.
reality.
Whether it's an app install or a D2C brand, you acquire those customers. You
Even
get happy.
for stores also, physical stores, it's the same.
So the customer is how he is. He'll make his first transaction and not come back for a second one.
Correct.
Now you want to influence this metric around first to second transaction behavior. Zoom into this. Now, from a channel of communication perspective, you have all the different channels you have available. You have a certain amount of user behavior that you can utilize to engage in communications. But then how do you influence that rate and how do you move the needles? If it's 15% and I want it to become 25%, can that happen using communications and whatever?
Yeah, it can. It's a good scenario to be. See, the thing is, first, when you are moving from first to second, first question that you ask, okay, what data of the customer I know about?
Sure.
Right? I know the browsing history. If there's a very less chance the customer came on the app for the first time and made a purchase.
Sure.
They made at least 2-3 visits before they make the actual purchase. That is the
something you track. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, that happens. A very less percentage of customer ordered in the first visit. Then your next variable that you know, okay, she did a COD or she did an online payment.
Okay.
If she did an online payment, she has more trust.
Okay.
Right. COD means she's not
less
sure
trust
that it will come on.
So you look at cohorts basis payment behavior. That's very clear.
Yeah. That's what we do. And then we see, okay, if the customer made the payment in one go, look at the product. Even the third visit, look at the product, add to cart, check out, and made the payment. Right. That's a good customer because she is now convinced. Quite convinced.
Okay. So now the single session, first step, second.
Correct. Now I know, okay, these are the target bases. This is high priority, can come back, low priority, medium priority.
Okay.
Then my communication basis that. Now for a high priority, my chances would be to upsell. Because they are trusting me. Medium priority, first thing would be, okay, make sure that whatever they purchase, before they use it, I want to replenish the same.
Before they finish it off. And is that a conscious choice? And how many typical days of replenishment would you have for a product like a lipstick? It probably be what? 3 weeks, 6 weeks?
Yeah. That there we have to take some assumptions. The usage is very, very relative.
It could be mixed.
It could be mixed. And the third,
so saying that so the highest priority customers will get a upsell window, and that's where you will try to drive the maximum repeats from, in some sense, because you know this person trusts your platform and they have the best chance of repeating. But I'll come back to that aspect around the funnel. It'll boil down to that, okay, you will send out a bunch of communications. You have, let's say, 1 million odd people acquired on a certain date, out of which 80%, 85% will not end up making a second transaction in a whatever 7, 14, 21 day window that you talk about. So in order to prevent this drop-off or leakage or churn from happening, you would want to do interventions. And that's where you break this down into the higher priority, mid priority, low priority segment.
Correct.
And now, whatever interventions you do are sort of communications, emails, WhatsApps, SMSs, push notifications. And they have a certain click-through rate. And what I tend to normally struggle to make people understand is if you were to do this through these channels, the click-through rates and ultimately the delta between the 15 to 25 is too large to bridge.
Through this. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you solve for that?
See, delta from 15 to 25 is a very large number to reach.
So that's where for a retention
we can do
move the needle.
Correct.
How do you do it?
See, we have to go with the limitations that we have. What is the readability? What is the readability of a communication if I'm sending to 100 customers? How many actually reading it? And how many are actually clicking on it? Then how many actually transacting? So you can't move from 15 to 25 over a month or 2 months per se.
Sure.
But slowly, gradually you have to move. Every month new customer will come. Then the older customer will the old cohort.
Sure.
Then how can you talk to old cohort? Because they have purchased, they have made more than 1 month.
The response rates are anyway dulled down. So, you did touch upon this whole aspect of the original native real estate being personalized, the website and the app personalization. So I'm personally of the view that, while people repeating are fewer, people coming to your platform are still a lot more, right? Because it's ultimately a 3 to 4% conversion rate. Correct. So when somebody hits your app or your website, 4% of them transact. So there are 96% people who've come to your application are not transacted.
Correct.
Which means even for the second transaction, when you have, let's say, 15 people transacting, there's still a lot more who's come back but not transacted. Right? So repeat visits happen, repeat transactions don't happen. Perhaps.
Correct.
And we could, zoom into the statistics on this. And you mentioned some early results from a personalization experience on the native side itself, where you said that there's some uplift. I don't necessarily know if it's early days to put numbers.
But it's very early days.
But is that something that you feel will help you move the needle better?
It will. See, as I talked about, I'm talking communication, but it's actually user experience.
Correct.
right? User experience has to be on the communication. User experience has to be on the platform as well.
That's consistency. That's
It has
also
to be
making sure that
consistent. If I'm talking about Winter Essential, if the customer is coming and seeing the Winter Essential banner according to it, that makes a lot of sense, right?
it's continuity, it's consistency, it's the same message.
Correct,
The user has better resonance to it.
Correct. So that's a part of UX only.
So generally what we've seen is companies invest in tools but don't invest in the manpower behind those tools to really squeeze value. Where is it that you squeeze value or see limitations on tools which will limit you or kind of empower you?
Yeah. See, tools nowadays have become very, very efficient in terms of helping or consulting the marketer himself, right? So that is I see a large usage of the tool, not only to send the communication but to understand what to send.
Sure.
Right? You can create your funnels, all the events that are happening. I'm talking about e-com per se. Right?
Sure.
All the events that are happening in the app by a particular customer, what is he trying to do, what is he looking at, how much time he's spending on each page, all these are covered in the tool.
Sure.
Right? So it is absolutely up to marketer how well they squeeze the tool. And e-com players are okay investing in tool as well as the manpower to use the tool. But it is up to marketer how well they can squeeze the users.
So it's a bit of an unusual combination we have in Kshitij. Somebody who's a software engineer by education, a data professional in his early career, and now sitting in the marketing hot seat of retention marketing for one of the unicorns in the personal care segment, the Good Glamm Group. Very interesting career path, Kshitij. Very interesting journey that you've had so far. We wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Ankur. Thank you so much.